general gist. And I mean, there's obviously a lot of issues with our state prison systems. They're overcrowded, they're understaffed, and we stick a lot of people in prison and put them away, and then when we release them, we make sure that they're going to come back. That's not very smart. There needs to be some changes, and that's something we're going to have to look into very heavily, because that is one of the most expensive parts of the state budget behind our welfare programs and education. So that's something that has to be addressed to take good care of the taxpayers' money.
Thank you. This one goes to Bill. Do you believe in defined benefit pension retirement plans such as Social Security, teacher retirement, or do you believe in 401k type retirement plans for employees, and in particular public employees such as educators?
Well, of course what we have now is the Social Security type system. I think a 401k system would work better. A lot of people have suggested that, and that means that as you work and you put money away someplace, and that's your money. Now you work and you put money away, and it may not be your money. You may not get it back, and people 10 or 20 years from now may not get Social Security. So I would be in favor of a different system of funding retirements. Even though I'm on retirement now, I think a different system would be better for the future.
This is an audience question directed to Lynn Morse. According to the Missouri Ethics Committee, you donated $5,000 to Democrat Jay Nixon in 2011. And in addition to donations to Democrats Chris Koster and Ike Skelton. So clearly you support the Democratic Party, so why are you running as a Republican?
Well, I don't think I've ever given any money to, you say Chris Koster?
That's what the question says.
No, that's incorrect. Yes, I have. I've even back in 14 years ago, way before 14 years ago, I gave money to Jim Kreider twice, and he used one of my checks on a front page of an ad that said, even my opponent supports me. I think that being a Republican, and I have been a Republican all my life, being a businessman for over 36 years, good business always makes sure that you give money to whoever you believe is the best candidate. And truly, I don't believe that I'm always going to vote for a Republican. I will vote for a Republican probably 95% of the time, but I'm not ashamed to tell you that I've given money. Now, do I believe that that governor in office today should be in office? No, but you know what? He's the governor today, and in business, you do those things. But I'm not ashamed to admit that, but I'm a Republican, and I'll always be a Republican.
Okay, we will start with Mr. Morris. This is, per the rules, our most interesting part of the forum. Lynn, you are allowed to pick either of your opponents and ask him a question.
Well, you know, I thought about that today. I was pretty busy, but I had written a question for Matt, but I'm going to be like the other gentleman before us. I'm going to leave it to our closing statements for the audience.
I agree. Let's have a couple more voter questions. What they think is more important than what we want to ask up here anyhow.
I have a question for Matt. Why don't you just drop it?
You're a voter.
He has a chance to respond, right?
Respond, Matt.
Yeah.
He didn't hear me, I don't think.
You say, why don't you just drop out?
Yeah, he heard you.
That'd be a waste of a great campaign. We're about to win here in about 10 more days. You don't quit when you're almost there.
All right, we'll have one more question for all of you, and then we'll go to closing remarks. And I'm going to have to pick a really good one. All right. let's go back to what we'd asked earlier. Do you think Missouri campaign finance laws are transparent enough? Or do you think they need to be changed? And who do we start with? We'll start with Matt.
Are campaign finance laws transparent enough?
Or do they need to be changed?
I don't think they're transparent enough, as Kevin stated earlier. You know, it's too easy to funnel money from one committee to another. You know, if I want to support another candidate in another district, I should be able to do that with my own money. But if I take the people who've entrusted and said, I believe you're the best person for our district, and take their money and start sending it to other candidates that they may not agree with, I don't think that's a proper use of campaign donations. So I think we should shut off a lot of these committee transfers that just move money around the state, and make sure that when someone makes a campaign donation, that they can trust that it's going to support the values and the principles that they stand for, and isn't being passed along to someone that they may not support.
The campaign finance rules, that comes from the Missouri Ethics Commission, I guess. They were invented for crooked people. What they do is they make it awful rough on honest people. Through a fault of mine, I got a little bit of trouble with the Ethics Commission and ended up having to pay a fine early this year because I was late on a report, and my campaign is very low funded and very transparent for me, so I wouldn't know too much about cheating because I don't have to. I think it's kind of overboard for the little guy to have to follow all the rules, and I'm sure there is a reason.
Well, I would agree that we probably need to make campaign financing much more transparent, as many things that we have in state government be more transparent. I mean, it's not just campaign financing. However, it must be pretty transparent because people know what I'm contributing to. I want to make clear that I have contributed to 2 Democrats in my life and probably hundreds of Republicans, several of them this year in the election year. So I think twice out of maybe hundreds is not really making me anything but a Republican. So I just wanted to make that really perfectly clear tonight. Thank you very much.
We are now ready to hear your closing remarks. We'll start with Mr. Preston.
Okay, I say this for why I'm best for the job. I have owned a business and understand all the problems associated with it, but so have both of my opponents. I worked 26 years in big business, electronics industry. At one time, I was responsible for 1,200 people. I worked with a lot of high-level people, including federal offices, and I won't be intimidated by anybody. I farmed part-time for several years, first cow-calf operation, then alfalfa. Now we're doing wheat and soybeans, so I have a place in my heart for farmers. Most importantly, I'm a true conservative. I follow the conservative principles, and mostly that's what people say. They're going to follow those principles. You just never know if they're going to or not. So you just have to make your mind up who's telling the truth, and I have to stop. Thank you.
Well, the last thing I want to point out is that I have worked closely with the legislature in the past. I ran the office for Representative Eric Burleson for about 1.5 years in the last couple of years. So I've got a lot of key relationships with Republicans and with representatives and senators, and we'll be able to jump in and be effective on day one. And you know, as we talked about term limits earlier, ever since term limits have taken effect, you see in the last decade that the people who had some sort of legislative experience coming in are the ones that have been the most influential and the most effective in representing their constituents. And that's one of the top 2 reasons I decided to go ahead and run, is because I believe that experience will help me to be most effective in standing up for your values and of just keeping the government out of the way, let you make the decisions best for your family.